Hello and welcome to this Live to Library lesson on slow gospel blues progressions. I am Willie Mayette from Piano with Willie, and we are going to get started now with section 1. All right, so when the goal of this lesson is to show you how to take an ordinary progression, okay, a basic progression, it's a 1-6-2-5 progression, and how to start to expand it utilizing certain harmonic techniques. Now, when I use words like harmonic techniques, don't get scared off by that. All I mean is harmonic equals chord, all right? So anytime you hear the word harmonic, we're just talking chord. All right, so now, of course, there's a little difference when we're talking the harmonic minor scale. Let's not go down that road. But when I say put harmony to a melody or do harmonic changes, I'm talking about changing around the chords or adding chords. So we're going to take these chords and we're going to change them around. Now, the first step here is to just understand this basic progression. It's very simple. I have just a C to an A minor, to a D minor, to a G, C, A minor, and I can keep the same chords but just change the root, and now this becomes an F to a G. So I have just a basic 1-6-2-5, 1-6-4-5 progression. Now, with this progression, you'll notice that I'm not playing super fancy chords here. I'm simply just playing triads, right? Just very simple. Here I have this is a D minor 7th because I have the 7th in there. But it's all pretty much straight up, just pretty simple triadic stuff. So this is the progression that we're going to work off of. Now, I'm not going to bother to take questions on this particular chapter because I think that this should be relatively simple. We will roll these questions into this part. All right, now this is where we're going to spend a lot more time because this is our dominant motion. Now, for some of you, you already know what dominant motion is, so bear with me as I explain this for some students that don't know what dominant motion is. Basically, anytime that we have a chord, okay, so we have chord here, chord there, okay? So put a little C in there, chord, chord, okay? Now, typically what happens is we move what? Just directly from that chord right into the next chord. We don't have to do that though, all right? What we could do is we could say, all right, well, I know I can go from this chord into this chord, and this is like any music that you would see written out, like just typical, like going from C to A minor, like here, if I go back up to this. So I have my C to A minor to D, just chord to chord. But what I could do is I can kind of interrupt that pattern. And I could say, all right, I'm going to put something else in here. Right? I'm going to put something in here, right, that's going to get me to this chord over here. All right? So now, what can I put in here that's going to get me to that chord? What chord can I put in here that is going to lead me to this chord right here? And there is one chord that always has a strong push, a strong leading to that next chord, and that is your dominant 7th chord. Now, where it typically gets confusing is, let's say that we're in the key of C. So let me use real chords here. So we have C, and I'm going to go into A minor. Okay? So in the key of C, the dominant 7th chord would be G7. Okay? So there's many ways of figuring that out. You could know your diatonic 7th chords like that, or you could say, okay, well, what's the 5th note of the major scale? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or even if I know my 5-finger scale, it's whatever one is the 5th, all right? So G, okay? And this is why we work through our scales, our 5-finger scales, etc. So G. So I would say, oh, okay, well, the dominant chord is what? A G, right? And it'd be a G7. The problem is this is wrong. And this is wrong because Yes, G7 is the dominant 7th chord in the key of C. However, G7 is not the dominant 7th chord that leads me to A minor, okay? Because what we have to start to do is, as musicians, and especially as musicians that want to start to do arranging and start to like really understand theory, we need to always think backwards, okay? So typically we would be thinking, okay, here, move forwards. Key of C, what's the dominant chord? Oh, it's a G7. Oh, there you go, perfect. And then keep moving forward like that. The problem is we can't do that. We need to always be looking ahead and thinking backwards, okay? So, get rid of this. Instead, we look ahead and we see what? What is our target? We're trying to get to A minor. So what we really need is we need the dominant chord that leads us to A minor. Now I'm going to show you a real easy trick in a second that will show you how to find the dominant chord like that. Real easy. But first of all, we need to understand the concept of like, okay, so the dominant 7th chord of A minor. Now, where it gets tricky is that you have to just think A. Forget the A minor part. Right? So forget about A minor. Just think A. So just how I went here, C, what's the dominant chord? Oh, I go up to the 5th, and it's G. I need to do the same thing on A. What's the dominant chord? Oh, E. Okay? This is why, again, I know my 5-finger scales. It makes it very easy for me to know exactly what the 5th is. Now, if you want a great exercise, you could just practice that kind of stuff. You could say a root, B flat. What's the dominant? F. Okay? You could also utilize the circle of fifths. Okay? So if you go to the right in the circle of fifths, right, that's your dominant chord. So if you're at C, the next one over is G. Well, G is the dominant 7th chord that leads to C. C is the dominant that leads to F. F is the dominant that leads to B flat, and so on and so on. Okay? Whichever way works best for you. I would suggest that you look at the whole thing and start to understand, oh, okay, this is how it works on the circle of fifths. This is how I would find it from just knowing the 5 notes of the major scale, okay? There's another way of getting it as well. Start on whatever your target is, so it's A. Again, forget the minor part, just A. And count down 5 half steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's E. If I make it E dominant 7th chord right there, that leads me to A minor. Okay? So, I always have the chord that I start at. I have my starting chord, but then I have my target chord. This is where I am going to, all right? So now that I have my target chord, well, what chord can I put right here? What chord can I precede that with? Go before? Well, I could do my E7 chord. And an E7 leads to A minor. Now, what I want to do is I want to take a minute right now. There's usually about 30 to 60 seconds of delay in the video. If you have any questions on this dominant motion, let's get those answered right now before we move on any further. All right, so any questions on dominant motion, go ahead and type them in, and I will answer your questions on dominant motion. And if I don't see any, then I will keep going. What happened, Willie? Was there a little hiccup? And Richard was asking, can't remain for the lesson today. We receive a link. Yes, you will receive a link in which you'll be able to watch and download the lesson. Okay, let's see. All righty. Okay, I don't see any questions right now. Hopefully everyone is everything is going fine with the video for them. If you have any problems, just try refreshing the page, okay? All right, so now, moving on. Coming over here to part number 2. All right, here we go. So now you'll see what I've done is, first of all, here's my basic chords that I had before. You'll see C, you see A minor, you see D minor, and you'll see G. Okay? So those are exactly the same chords that I had before. let me make this a little larger. Okay, so let's just start right here. So the C, let's do this. All right. This chord right here, and the A minor. These two are exactly the same as before, so nothing has changed. What I am doing, however, though, is I am adding in this new chord right here, this E7. So let me just go ahead and play this for you. So I have C, right? C to E7 to A minor. And immediately right there, you can hear that shift, that change. Right? You've heard that sound before. And all that's happening is that it's this dominant 7th chord that is preceding that A minor. Now, something very important that I want to make sure that you understand is that I wrote these out for brevity. So I just wrote them out like 1 beat apiece. You could do whatever, like I just did there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1. You know, so you could play these like in a 6/8. You could do it in 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? You could do it as a 2-beat. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Right? So the rhythm of these chords, we don't have to worry about the rhythm right now. In fact, I would suggest that you don't worry about the rhythm right now. You might say, oh, I want to know how to do that. Don't worry about that yet. And the reason is that if you don't fully understand what's going on harmonically, the rhythm stuff is it's just not gonna fly right now. Once you understand harmonically what's going on, now you can start to add all the rhythmic stuff to it. All right? But first of all, we got to understand what's going on here. So we have C, then we go to the E7. And now you notice when I went to the D minor, what did I do? I changed it again. I now went to this A7 chord, right? So I had C to E7 to A minor. And now I changed that A minor chord into a dominant. Why? Because A7 is the dominant chord that leads me to D minor 7. So I changed the quality of the chord. Quality of the chord, not is it a good chord or is it a bad chord. Quality of the chord means is it major or minor or diminished or whatever. What kind of chord is it? So A minor to A7 and then to a D minor. And then guess what? Did the same thing again. D minor, I have to get to G. Well, again, there's G. What's my dominant chord that leads me to G? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, it's a D. Make it a D7, right? D7. G, and then I want to go back to the C, so what do? I change the G into a G dominant 7th chord, and now that progression that I was just playing before, I'm going to zoom it out here. So I'm going to play the top one, number 1, and then number 2. So listen to the difference. So there's the basic progression, right? I'm not going to go bother going to the 4, 5 one, all right? So there's your basic progression. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2. Okay? So now I add in these other chords, I get this. And now it starts to like really add all of this cool motion in there just by adding in the dominant 7th chord, just by preceding the next chord with its dominant 7th chord. Now, what I want to do now is I want to show you 2 things, all right? Oh, and by the way, when asking questions, there should be a little button there for a question, and that helps it to pop up a little bit easier on my side. Thanks for taking a look at this video. If you'd like to be notified the next time I release free content on YouTube, you can click on the subscribe button on this page. It's absolutely free to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Now, if you'd like to study with me for free for 30 days, click on the Piano Success Playbook in the bottom left-hand side, and you'll get 30 days of lessons absolutely free of charge. I look forward to working with you in the next lesson.